What is going on, Alabama fans? Chris Daughtry back with you here on the Alabama Football Report by Chat Sports. The Crimson Tide beating LSU last night 20-9 was not the cleanest game in the world. Definitely not how you really wanted this game to turn out. But look, Alabama comes away with a win. So, you could have lost this game. It could have been a whole lot closer than it actually ended up being here. So, look, there's some good, the bad, the ugly in this game. But, hey, you come away with a victory. So, make sure you get down there and drop a like on today's show. At least celebrate the victory here for the Crimson Tide. Look, Nick Saban used to say, he was always mad when people would complain because you didn't necessarily win by, more points than you were supposed to win by. But, look, you kind of did. The spread in this game was only 10.5 points. Alabama ended up covering the spread, winning this game by 11. So get down there and drop a like on today's video. All right, getting into some overreactions from yesterday's game. This is really the thing that kind of irritates me. The run game is not good right now. It is actually really, really bad right now. Alabama in this game yesterday, 26 carries for 56 yards. You averaged 2.2 yards per carry. Daniel Hill was able to get in the end zone on a 4-yard carry. I guess that's a good thing there. But, overall, just looking at every game for Alabama this year, 87 yards on the ground to Florida State. You went 212 on the ground to Louisiana Monroe, 72 on the ground against Wisconsin. This is just another game where this Alabama run game is just not looking very good at all against South Carolina as well. 72 yards there. You haven't had a game this year, you've had one game so far this year where you averaged over 4 yards per carry. That's against Louisiana Monroe, and like I said in our instant reaction video last night, that one really doesn't matter. That one really doesn't count. This Alabama team's got to do a better job running the football. I had a lot of confidence that Alabama was going to come into this game and run the football just down LSU's throat. Because if you look at their run defense game by game by game, it's gotten worse and worse and worse. And I get it. They are still a pretty decent defense, but, they didn't have their best player, Whit Weeks. He was out in this game. And, they're coming off the bye, but you're coming off the bye as well. Ryan Grubb said that Alabama was going to come out and they were going to challenge LSU on the ground. And, especially in the first half, every single time we handed the ball off, our running backs were getting met in the backfield. It's not just all on the running backs. It's on the offensive line as well. I thought the right side, really struggled yesterday, whether that was Jaden Roberts, whether that was Wilkin Formby, both of those guys, I thought just really had tough games yesterday, especially, run blocking anyways there. I thought they did a pretty decent job, pass blocking. I didn't think Ty Simpson was necessarily under any type of crazy amount of pressure there. Running backs did a pretty good job, pass blocking for Ty Simpson there. But, man, overall, this run game is just not looking very good at all for Alabama, and it has got to be fixed. If you want to get wins in the SEC championship, in the college football playoffs, you got to be able to run the football. And right now, they are just not doing a very good job at that. So what is your concern level with Alabama's run game? Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section of today's show. Scale it for me, 1 to 10, 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. Be completely honest with me. My concern level right now is probably like an 8.5 or 9. Run game just does not look good at all for this Alabama team. It's not something that, is supposed to struggle for Alabama. You're supposed to be able to run it down the damn throat, and they're just not doing a very good job right now. Overreaction number 2, Ty Simpson is losing out right now on the Heisman Trophy. I know, Alabama fans are going to be like, who really cares? It doesn't really matter. But look, at the end of the day, you want your players to play well, and you want them to be recognized for that. And I don't think this is really an overreaction either. You look at some of the, quarterbacks around the country right now. I think, Fernando Mendoza, after the game he had yesterday, I know, it was a very close game, and that this might be kind of crazy for me to say, too. I get it. It was a close game between Indiana and Penn State yesterday, but he had his Heisman moment. And, Ty probably had his Heisman moment in that South Carolina game. But really, Fernando Mendoza, he had to drive, the pretty much the entire length of the field in that game. He made some big-time throws. His receivers and tight ends and stuff like that definitely made some big-time catches as well. But still, man, I think that was a bigger moment probably yesterday for Fernando Mendoza. Julian Sayin had another good game yesterday as well. So, look, Ty wasn't awful. He was 21 for 35. Did not start off great in this game, but he's still 277 yards, 1 touchdown, passing the ball. Still another fumble for Ty Simpson in this game. That continues to kind of be a little bit of an issue right now. Only 1 interception, but he has 4 fumbles. I really don't know what's going on, there for Ty, but, I get it. You're continuing to win games, and, not a lot of people really care about these individual type of awards, but, I do think it is notable that a couple of weeks ago, Ty Simpson was number 1 in the betting odds for the Heisman, and right now he's probably, 3 at best. I would probably assume there. He hasn't really had the best couple of games back-to-back here the past couple of weeks. So, we'll see if he continues to improve here. But, he said in the press conference last night, not up to the standard right now. So, we'll see what happens. But Ty Simpson losing out on the Heisman right now, not an overreaction. All right, we'll continue here in just a second with some more overreactions. But first, today's show is brought to you by PrizePicks. Hard-hitting football action is even better with PrizePicks, and the weather might be changing right now, but the feeling of being right never gets old. So keep the season rolling on PrizePicks by getting $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, by the way, the only app that offers stacks, meaning that you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same PrizePicks lineup. You want to pick more than on, Josh Allen pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns. Now you can get all of them in the same lineup only on PrizePicks. We cooked this one up for the power play for last night's game. Went with Berry and Brown, more than receiving yards. That one hit. Germie Bernard, more than receiving yards for him. That one hit. Ty Simpson, more than passing touchdowns. That one did not hit. And unfortunately, we went with the power play, which means, you can get the biggest payouts no matter how you play. PrizePicks is the best way to put your takes to the test. If you want flexibility, though, and this is one thing that I probably should start doing more often here, but, choose the flex play. You can get you can get paid even if one of your picks misses. So download the PrizePicks app today and use promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That link's going to be down inside the comment section and the description of today's video. We appreciate PrizePicks for being the sponsor of today's show. All right, overreaction number 3. I am starting to get a little bit nervous about this Oklahoma game next week. Oklahoma is coming off a bye, so they were able to, sit down and watch Alabama in this game. And, if you remember back to, last year, Oklahoma's defense really shut down Jalen Milroe. And I understand this is a completely different type of offense this year, with Ty Simpson. But still, man, the Oklahoma's defense is still pretty damn good. John Mateer on the offensive side of the ball, I get it. He started off hot. Then he ended up getting injured. And, he still really hasn't gotten back into that rhythm yet. But still, man, I am very, very nervous about this Oklahoma game next week. I'm glad that this Alabama team, in those post-game press conferences, they said that, their performance on the offensive side of the ball really isn't up to the standard right now. And I think a lot of us can agree on that. But, man, just, you're going up against a really, really bad LSU team, especially their defense, and you weren't really able to move the ball that often. Going up against, a really good Oklahoma defense, that one might get a little bit nerve-wracking. So don't miss any Alabama football news or rumors here on the channel. We are live for every single Alabama game, and we've got videos for you guys all year and off season long as well. So don't miss out. Join the community here at the Alabama Football Report. And if you got YouTube TV, you don't know what could happen, by the time this week all the way to next week. So, if that dispute isn't settled yet, make sure you hit that sub button and join us live here on the Alabama Football Report. All right, overreaction number 4. The defense kind of seems like it is getting better. I'm going to put this one in the maybe category right here. You had a couple of more turnovers in this game. You held LSU to only 9 points. You did a really, really good job in terms of, your run defense yesterday. Garrett Nussmeier ended up getting benched there. So, overall, I think, you're doing a better job getting turnovers, at the end of the day. And, still, running your rushing defense anyways, I think is getting a little bit better here. London Simmons had another, fumble recovery as well. Yanze Pierre had another forced fumble last night as well. So, I put it in air quotes because it kind of seems like he, swiped at the ball, but actually didn't hit the ball there. So I don't really know what happened on that play there. But, I think your defense is getting better right now. LSU yesterday was only 5 for 14 on third downs. That's really, really good. You're not really creating a lot of penalties on the defensive side of the ball. Penalties yesterday, by the way, 2 penalties for Alabama for only 25, yards. Man, I'm just kind of looking at this right now, too. You actually lost the time of possession battle in this game, which is actually crazy to look at there. But, still, LSU only averaged 2.3 yards per carry in this game. You had 2 more turnovers. The defense past couple of games have kind of carried you. And, just when it comes down to it, seems like they're getting better right now. So is Alabama's defense getting better? Be honest with me. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments section. Type Y for yes or N for no. All right, I can't really believe I'm doing this right now, but I kind of struggled with, having some overreactions for this game last night. Blake Dowd's really good. He's your punter, and I know we don't always talk about punters and stuff like that, but I thought about special teams, and I thought about Connor Talty, and, he was 2 for 3 yesterday. Really bad missed field goal for Connor Talty there, in this game yesterday too. But, overall, I don't want to get too down on Connor Talty. But Blake Dowd yesterday, he had 3 punts for 120 yards, averaging 40 yards per punt. All 3 of them, by the way, downed inside the 20. One, by the way, very good job there by, Jalen Mbakwe, downing it down at the, whatever it was, 2-yard line, something like that. Blake Dowd, you go back and you look at his season stats, man, he is doing a really, really good job. And for a guy that, came out of Colorado School of Mines, this just, he's doing a really good job punting the football right now. Against South Carolina, he had 5 punts, averaged 55 yards per punt. In that game, he's averaging 44 yards per punt so far this season. He's got a long of 60. He's doing a really good job right now. And, I think it's underrated, and I wanted to give him a little bit of love here too, just because, when you're talking about your punter, he could be a real weapon. If you're downing, opposing offenses inside the 20, inside the 10, inside the 15, whatever it ends up being there, it just makes the other team have to drive the entirety of the field there. And I think Blake Dowd's doing a really, really good job there. I know it's not the, sexiest type of overreaction out there, but wanted to give him some love because I do think he's doing a really, really good job for this Alabama team this year. And there's definitely been times this year, you think back to that South Carolina game, had 5 punts in that game, for 55 yards. Let me just click on this here real quick and see exactly, kind of go in depth on his stats on that game there, see how many he downed inside the 20. Doesn't look like, he had 5 punts, 3 of them inside the 20. Had a 60-yard long in that South Carolina game too. So, shout out Blake Dowd. He's doing an incredible job. A guy that, I'll be honest, I don't even know if he's on scholarship right now. Transfer portal, another one's hidden. Nakai Hill-Green, another guy that you got out of the transfer portal we talked about last night. Just solid job overall by Blake Dowd. But, man, just going back real quick to the run game, that's got to get fixed because right now it's just not looking very good at all.